Chapter 10, Quidditch. Time skip, morning. The morning of the first Quidditch match dawned bright and sharp, the October air crisp with promise of cold winds and excitement. The entire Gryffindor tower buzzed like a kicked beehive. Hayley woke to the sound of frantic footsteps, distant shouts, and serious yelling from downstairs. "James, if you don't eat something, I'm telling MCGONAGLL you cried when you got your broom." Hayley snorted into her pillow. Across the room, Iris sat up, hair sticking out in every direction. "Is it time?" Hayley nodded. "It's time." The Gryffindors gathered in the common room, all wearing red and gold scarves. Some of the older girls, including Marlene, had painted G.O. Potter in glittery letters on their cheekbones. Sirius had gone a step further. He had smeared red stripes across his face like he was going to war. Remus, already at the portrait hole, held a stack of blankets. "Come on, best seats are up top." As the group poured out of the tower, Hayley spotted James at the bottom of the stairs, already dressed in his crimson Quidditch robes, brooms slung over his shoulder. His hair was an absolute disaster, and he was packing like a frantic chicken. Lily walked by with Iris, not even glancing at him. James pretended not to care. "Good luck, James," Hayley called. He froze, then broke into a wide grin. "Thanks, Hales." Sirius clapped him on the back. "Don't die." "That's the plan," James said cheerfully. Time skip, the stadium. The Quidditch pitch loomed massive and magnificent against the bright sky. Towering spectator stands rose high on all sides, flags flapping wildly in the chilly breeze. The Gryffindor banner streaked the air with and gold, while far across the pitch, Slytherin green shimmered like a venomous snake. Hayley gasped as they climbed the stands. "It's huge." "It's insane," Iris whispered, clutching her scarf. Sirius puffed his chest. "Wait till you see James fly. He's brilliant." "Terrifying," Remus corrected politely. "Brilliantly terrifying," Sirius amended. Students filled the seats in chattering clusters, waving banners and rattling homemade noisemakers. Above them, a flock of owls swooped over the stands, scattering stray feathers. The players strode onto the pitch, Gryffindor robes blazing red, Slytherin shining green. James mounted his broom with practiced ease, eyes gleaming with excitement. Hayley and Iris cheered so loudly their voice cracked. Time skip, let the match begin. Madam Hooch blew her whistle, the balls shot into the sky, and the chaos began. The bludgers whooshed past the stands with frightening speed. The quaffle soared across the field in a flash of scarlet and emerald. The Gryffindor chasers passed with dazzling precision. But Hayley's eyes never left James. As a chaser intercepted the quaffle and hurled it upward, James soared higher, until he seemed almost to skin the clouds. He tilted his broom sideways, slipped past a Slytherin beater, then dove straight down, broom angled like a spear. Iris screamed, "He's going to die." "Nope," Remus said calmly. "This is normal." James pulled up at the last second, snatching the quaffle in clean, breathtaking move. The Gryffindor stands exploded with cheers. "That's MY brother," Hayley yelled, jumping up and down. Even Lily looked up from her seat in the row below, not cheering, but with a tiny flicker of reluctant admiration. Time skip, the tension build. The match raged on. Slytherin scored once, Gryffindor scored twice. Then the Slytherin beaters started targeting James relentlessly. A bludger shot toward him, he ducked. Another came from the right, Sirius screamed from the stands, "Watch your left, you absolute idiot." James spun in midair and narrowly avoided it. "That's illegal," Iris shouted, outraged. "That's Slytherin," Marlene corrected. James wasn't rattled. He sped up, weaving through the players with reckless skill, flipping his broom around a goalpost as though gravity simply didn't apply to him. "Come on, Potter," students roared. Even Hayley had to grab the railing, because her knees had gone weak. "That's my brother," she whispered, equal parts terrified and proud. Time skip, the game-changing play. Suddenly, James darted forward. The quaffle was plummeting toward the pitch. A Slytherin chaser dove for it. James accelerated, wind whipping his hair sideways, pushing his broom farther than it was clearly meant to go. He surged forward, dove, and grabbed the quaffle inches before it hit the ground. The crowd roared so loudly, Hayley felt the stands shake. But James wasn't done. Using the momentum of the dive, he spiraled upward, avoiding two bludgers with sheer instinct. Then, with a smooth, perfect arc, he hurled the quaffle straight through the center hoop. Madam Hooch's whistle pierced the air. Gryffindor. Hayley screamed until her throat ached. Iris jumped so violently the entire bench shook. Sirius grabbed Remus in a headlock and roared with victory. Even a few Ravenclaws near them clapped appreciatively. Across the pitch, Lily looked away quickly, cheeks slightly pink. Time skip, the end of the game. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Gryffindor seeker dove, arm outstretched, and closed her hand around the fluttering snitch. The whistle blew. The stands erupted. Gryffindor wins. Scarves waved. Students hugged. Someone conjured fireworks that showered red sparks across the sky. Hayley nearly toppled over the railing from cheering so hard. Time skip, post-match chaos. The Gryffindors swarmed onto the pitch, surrounding James as he landed. He was flushed, sweaty and grinning so wide it looked like it hurt. Sirius crashed into him first. "You bloody legend." Marlene followed. "Thought you were dead at least 4 times. Remus laughed. "You probably should have been." James looked up as Hayley and Iris ran over. He wrapped an arm around his sister, lifting her off the ground in a spin. "Good match?" he asked breathlessly. Hayley laughed, breathless. "The best." "You scared us to death," Iris added. James shrugged proudly. "That's Quidditch." Time skip, night in common room. The celebration lasted hours. Firelight danced on the walls. Students sang. Someone brought snacks stolen from the kitchens. Sirius reenacted James's dive off the table until McGonagall showed up and nearly had a heart attack. Hayley curled up with a warm blanket beside the fire, watching her brother laughing with his friends. She felt a warm glow in her chest, pride, excitement, joy. She leaned toward Iris. "I get it now," she whispered. "Get what?" "Why James loves Quidditch so much." Iris smiled. "Because it's chaos." Hayley shook her head. "Because it's him." She paused, then added softly, "And I think I love it too." Chapter 11, Flying Class. Time skip, Hayley's first flying class. The morning of their first flying lesson was crisp and bright, the kind of cold that made your cheeks sting and your breath come out in pale clouds. Hayley had barely slept, excitement twisted in her stomach like a tiny golden snitch. Iris bounced beside her as they headed out across the grounds, Gryffindors and Slytherins gathering near the flat grassy pitch where dozens of school brooms lay in neat lines. "There are, older than my grandmother," Iris whispered, eyeing the crooked sticks. "They probably are your grandmother," Sirius muttered as he walked past with Remus, heading toward their own class further down on the lawn. Remus gave the girls an encouraging smile. "You'll be great, just don't let the broom choose violence." "That happens?" Hayley asked, startled. Sirius yelled over his shoulders. "Yes." Before either girl could worry about it, a sharp whistle cut through the air. Madam Hooch strode across the field. Short, wiry, and intimidating in her gray cloak, her hawk-yellow eyes swept across the first years with the precision of someone who once played professionally. "Stand by a broom," she barked. Hayley and Iris exchanged a look, then stood beside 2 very wonky-looking brooms. Hayley's bristles were frayed, and its handle looked like it had been chewed by a hippogriff. Madam Hooch paced the line. "Welcome, first years," she said. "Today we will attempt basic flight, and I say attempt because these brooms are school property and therefore." She tapped one with the toe of her boot. The broom sputtered violently and rolled in the grass. "Temperamental." A ripple of nervous laughter passed through the line. Time skip, flying class starts. Hayley placed her palm over her BR-ROM. Up, she said firmly. The broom sprang straight into her hand so fast, she almost smacked herself in the face. Whoa, she gasped. Up, Iris repeated. The broom rolled away. I said up, Iris snapped. It nudged her shoe half-heartedly. Madam Hooch paused beside her. Perhaps don't yell at it unless you wish to be bucked off. Hayley stifled a laugh. Across the line, a Slytherin yelped as his broom leapt at his throat. Madam Hooch flicked her wand and the broom dropped harmlessly to the ground. I said they were temperamental, she muttered. Time skip, middle of class. Once the brooms were in hand, more or less, Madam Hooch instructed them to mount. Grip the broom firmly. No leaning forward too early. No leaning back unless you enjoy falling on your head. Hayley swung her leg over, heart pounding. The grass beneath her seemed suddenly very far away, even though she wasn't moving yet. Iris did the same, more slowly, looking like she expected the broom to throw her across the pitch at any moment. Madam Hooch raised her whistle. When I blow, you kick off, gently hover a foot or two, and then lower back down. If anyone so much as tilts dangerously, I pull you down myself. Understood. Everyone nodded nervously. The whistle shrilled. Hayley kicked off gently, and her stomach swooped. She was hovering. The ground was a foot below her, the wind brushing through her hair. The broom held her steadily, as if it had been waiting for her. Hayley's mouth fell open. Iris, I'm doing it. Iris let out a shriek as she wobbled upward on her broom. I'm too high. I'm too high. You're literally 9 inches off the ground, Hayley laughed. I know, Iris squeaked, clutching the handle as if it were a lifeline. Madam Hooch's sharp voice cut through the chaos. Keep your balance. No screaming unless something is on fire. A Slytherin girl promptly screamed because something was on fire. Her broom bristles had caught a spark, likely from friction or panic. Madam Hooch extinguished it with a flick of her wand. Time skip, an unexpected glide. Now slowly descend, Madam Hooch instructed. Hayley eased her broom down and felt a thrill run through her chest. She had done it. She had actually flown, even if it was tiny. But as her touched the grass, her broom jerked and suddenly rose. Hey! Hayley gasped as the broom floated upward, tugging her with it. Potter, Madam Hooch barked, DOWN. That caught the eyes of James, Sirius, Remus, and Peter. James held his broom tighter, worried. Hayley tried to lean forward to slow it, but the broom lifted higher, gliding a few feet above the rest of the class. Students below watched in awe and envy and fear. Iris yelled, How are you even doing that? I'm not, Hayley shouted back. But the broom felt natural in her hands. She adjusted her grip, leaned slightly to one side, and the broom obeyed instantly, like it trusted her. Madam Hooch whistled sharply. Excellent reflexes, Miss Potter, but land, now. Hayley swallowed and slowly lowered the broom. When her feet hit the ground, a few Gryffindor clapped. James sighs in relief as his grip loosed. Even some of the Slytherins stared. Madam Hooch stopped in front of her, eyes narrowed like a hawk. Who taught you how to ride like that? No one, Professor, Hayley said honestly. Madam Hooch studied her for a long second, then nodded. You have talent, dangerous but useful. Keep that broom grounded unless I tell you otherwise. Hayley nodded quickly. Iris exhaled with relief. Time skip, end of lesson. By the end of the hour, Iris managed to hover without shrieking. A Slytherin boy fell face first into the grass, twice. Madam Hooch confiscated 1 broom for attempted homicide. Hayley hovered 3 more times, each smoother than the last. As they walked back to the castle, Iris panted, I am never doing that again. Yes, you are, Hayley said, grinning. No, never ever. You'll love it. Hayley, a broom tried to eat my shoe. Hayley laughed, hair whipping in the breeze. She glanced back at the pitch. For a moment, she imagined herself soaring high above it, wind in her face, crowds cheering, nothing but sky. She didn't know what it meant yet, but she knew one thing. She wanted to fly again. Chapter 12, Halloween in Snape's Drawing. Time skip, Halloween at Hogwarts. Halloween at Hogwarts felt like stepping into a fairy tale. The castle was transformed. Floating jack-o'-lanterns drifted lazily beneath the enchanted ceiling, their carved faces glowing warm gold. Bats swooped gently overhead, squeaking softly as they dodged bewitched streamers. The smell of pumpkin spice, warm cider, and caramel apples drifted through the corridors, making Hayley's stomach rumble every time she turned a corner. "This is the best day ever," Iris squealed as they entered Transfiguration to find the desks had turned into giant candy bars. Marlene bit into the corner of hers. "Vanilla, perfect." "But how do we write on them?" Hayley asked. "You don't," Marlene smirked. "McGonagall gives us the morning off." Even McGonagall's lips twitched with amusement. Hayley looks around, and she notices James acting suspicious along with Sirius, and she looks confused for a moment, but shrugs it off. Time skip, hallway. After lunch, Hayley and Iris walked together towards Charms, dodging Peeves, who was floating through the air, dressed like a pumpkin-headed warlord. "Trick or treat, little feet," he shrieked, throwing miniature fireworks at a screaming group of Ravenclaws. Hayley grabbed Iris's sleeve. "This way." They ducked into a quieter side corridor, one rarely used except by older students. The torches flickered dimly, and a row of dusty suits of armor muttered complaints about drafty hallways. As they hurried along, Hayley noticed something fluttering on the floor. A piece of parchment. She bent down, picking it up. Her heart stuttered. It wasn't parchment, it was a drawing. A beautifully detailed sketch of a girl with soft red curls and bright eyes, Lily Evans. Hayley looked down the corridor instinctively and spotted a familiar black-haired shape turning a corner. "Snape," she muttered. "It must be his." Iris blinked. "He drew that." "It's good," Hayley whispered. "Really good." Iris chewed her lip. "You're going to return it, right?" "Of course," Hayley said immediately. "I think he'd want it back." She jogged toward the corner. "Snape," she called. "Hey, wait." He stiffened. She tried again, louder this time. "Severus, you dropped something." He turned slightly, just enough for her to see his profile, pale face, hooked nose, dark curtain of hair. But when he met her eyes and registered her Gryffindor robes and her family resemblance, something cold shuddered across his expression. His jaw tightened, then he turned away. "Come on, Hales," Iris whispered nervously. "He clearly doesn't want to talk." "No," Hayley said softly. "Not until I give this back." She tried one more time, stepping into the middle of the hall. "Look, I don't care what house you're in, and I'm not here because of James or Sirius or anyone else. You dropped this, you should have it." Her voice echoed off the stone. Snape paused at the far end of the corridor. For a moment, Hayley thought he might turn around, but he walked away. Slow, stiff, almost hurt, but unwilling to let her see it. Hayley exhaled, looking down at the drawing again. Lily's face stared up at her, gentle, kind, captured with a tenderness that made Hayley's chest ache. "I'll give it back to him tomorrow," Hayley whispered. "Maybe he'll listen then." Time skip, the feast. The great hall looked like something out of a dream when they arrived for dinner. Hundreds of floating pumpkins glowed above the tables. Orange mist drifted along the floor like low fog. Skeletons played violins on a raised platform, their bony fingers clacking against the string. Hayley and Iris slid into their seats beside Marlene, who was already stuffing chocolate spiders into her mouth. "Try one," Marlene insisted. "They crunch." "Nope," Iris said instantly. Dumbledore stood, arms spread wide. "Happy Halloween, let the feast begin." With a shimmer of gold light, the table filled. Pumpkin pasties, treacle tarts, chocolate frogs, mounds of mashed potatoes, whole roasted turkeys, glittering bowls of sweets. Hayley felt warm all over, the laughter, the music, the glow. It was unlike anything she'd ever experienced. James waved at her from the older students' end of the table. Sirius beside him wearing vampire fangs and pretending to hiss at people. Hayley noticed Remus isn't with them, and she looks at James, who mouthed at her. He feels ill. Hayley didn't push, and she looks over to Lily, who is laughing with Alice and Mary, not noticing Severus sitting alone at the Slytherin table, looking pale and withdrawn. Hayley's eyes softened. She clutched the drawing gently in her pocket. Tomorrow, she'd give it back, even if he hated her surname, even if he avoided her. Some things deserved kindness. Time skip, night in the common room. By the time they got back to Gryffindor Tower, Hayley's stomach hurt from laughing, eating, and trying to outrun Peeves' floating toffee bombs. The fire crackled warmly. Students lounged in costumes, playing games, trading sweets. Someone enchanted a pumpkin to chase Sirius around the room. Hayley curled into an armchair with a blanket, pulling out her small journal. She flipped to a new page, dipped her quill, and began to write. Dear Mum and Dad, Happy Halloween from Hogwarts. Today was amazing. The whole castle was glowing with pumpkins and magic. I saw James fly for fun in the courtyard. He said he was preparing for next match, but really, he was just showing off. Typical James. Peeves threw fireworks at me again. Just a normal day here. But something else happened too. Something I don't really know how to explain. I found a drawing today. A really beautiful one of Lily. Snape drew it. I don't think anyone knows he can draw like that. I tried to give it back, but he wouldn't let me. He walked away. I don't think he hates me. I think he just hates the name Potter. But I'll try again tomorrow. It feels important. I miss you both, but I think I'm starting to understand why James loved this place. Good night, Mum and Dad. Love, Hayley. She closed the journal softly. Outside, the wind howled gently against the castle walls, and the floating pumpkins bobbled in the window's reflection like watchful, warm guardians. Hayley smiled sleepily. Hogwarts was mad, and magical and confusing. But tonight, wrapped in blanket and candlelight, Hayley felt full of warmth, of curiosity, of belonging. She whispered to herself, exactly where I'm supposed to be.